Say they want every country at least 70%. 70%. So they're trying to find ways to achieve their goals.
Going back to history, that's where the discrimination of cannabis came from.
Yes.
Because a lot of Mexicans was bringing hemp to the U.S. They used to make cloth, plastic, clothes, even biodiesel.
They should know the metes and bounds. They should have their deeds. They should know where to get this information.
And when Nasri speaks about, that we're already behind the education system, there are some schools that they were moving in a good direction.
How can we mold boys into good men? Society in crisis.
That's the game with the road. We problem now with bloody politicians. We play that game there and think everybody fool. Tell everybody what you do. And if you get money, share it with me now. Share it. But
You think they understand?
most of them don't even know where they go on. That's the game with the road. We problem now with bloody politicians.
Society in crisis.
So they're trying to find ways to achieve their goals.
Looking for the ultimate sea view getaway? Then Sea Belize Vacation Rentals and Tours, located at 5 miles Philip Golson Highway near the Halover Bridge, is your perfect sea view getaway. Come relax in one of our beautiful air-conditioned sea view apartment, studios, sea view rooms, or suites, all with flat screen television, hot and cold bath, and unlimited access to a spacious and refreshing 40 by 16 foot pool with 6 to 4 feet depth. So you can enjoy that fun and refreshing dive or dip in the pool. We sell ice cold drinks so you can relax and unwind on our overwater or poolside decks. Contact us at 501-615-4485, 65 or 67. Looking for the ultimate sea view getaway? Then Sea Belize Vacation.
Good night and welcome to the Zenaida Moya show. I am your host, Zenaida. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. 6 December, I have my everything set up so that I can make sure I see who all send messages. So normally that's what I try to ensure I do. So if you see me here, it's because I need to ensure that I can see your messages. As usual, make sure that you can share the page. And before we move right ahead, because this is definitely a show that I feel very strongly about. Why? Because I just love, I just love economics. I love speaking about the economy. But what I'm what I'm going to do tonight, because the show is something that can get technical, I will not get technical and get all, sometimes as an economist you get a high speaking about areas like this. And so I will try to ensure that I speak as, in an easy manner, right? Without all the technical jargons. So tonight we're going to be discussing about different opportunities. And the opportunities are realistic opportunities. I want to give a special shout out, of course, to Maximum Radio and Television that is bringing the show live throughout Belize. So if you have central cable and internet, you of course can see the show. It's on them, it's on Centaur. It's as long as you have those internet, you can watch the show. And so if you have anybody who you think might want to watch the show, don't have let's say a Facebook page, because we are live, as you very well know. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And of course, we're live on all the avenues, even DigiTV, MadLab Radio, a long list of them, Switch TV, we're all of them that Maximum Radio and Television are on, and they are on quite a number of them. So we're on those as well. I want to say that this show is pretty much a continuation of last week's show. Last week's show, I delved into why certain countries were deemed safer, all right? And what came out of that was that wealthier countries are safer countries. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you why. When a country is wealthier, when its people have a higher standard of living, they have more opportunities, that's a good thing. Nobody is upset about that. You understand? So people are working, people have their own businesses, people are trying to produce whatever it is that they can produce, sell, export, sell their services, whether online or if they're consultants, whatever it is. They're doing that. If they're farmers, agro-processors, they are doing those things. But when there's no opportunities, there's no business, what happens? Poverty. When there's high unemployment, poverty, crime. So every action has a reaction. And if we ensure that our people, and of course, as is usual, people watch the show, and they watch the show on all over the world. And I know that I always make sure that I give a shout out to you. And so let me just make sure I have my thing. Yeah. So let me just give a shout out already. Geraldo Koch, good night, good night. I know you're watching all the way from Punta Gorda, Toledo. Nancy De Paz, good night. Blessed good night to you too. Rachel and Elizabeth Balderramos, good night to you. And, everybody else, I just want to say good night. All of you who are watching, good night. The first thing I want to tell you is we're going to look at particular what the situation is and how we will be pulling opportunities, business investment opportunities from what I'm about to show you, okay? There will be in different areas. I can't get into all areas, so I will delve into certain areas, and then we are going to, really look at how we can get it done. So in a nutshell though, what we have been experiencing, as you very well know, you've always heard about what is called inflation. So let me get that out there. What is inflation? Now, we always look and say your purchasing power, it lessens. When there's inflation, and I have a little 20-second video just to show you. This one speaks of in the US, but whatever happens in the US is also similar to what happens here and all over the world. And, all right, yeah. So what happens? Inflation can be caused through different reasons. And again, I told you I don't want to get all technical. So if I used to tell you though that it can be, for example, if you have, like in the US, they have the Federal Reserve, or in other countries, you have what is called central bank. They can do their own little tinkling of whatever, and they can cause inflation if they choose to, all right? And they do that for different reasons. But the result of this, so it can be man-made, all right? And it can be such that it's market-driven, right? So it could be the authorities, or it could be market-driven, right? So for example, I have a little video with the man-made, and but the market-driven now is, for example, you have a lot of, for example, workers. Things are getting really good. And yeah, it's getting really good, and people just start to buy, and let me make sure that this is low, and people, they're going after these particular goods, right, or services, and they just go after it, and there's a lot of them going after it, and the prices increase. All right, that's market driven, okay? That's just basic supply and demand, all right? So if you have a lot of people going after these particular limited goods or services, then, and they're able to pay for it, then what ultimately happens is people might say, okay, well, I'm going to increase the price, all right? I'm going to increase the price. So that is different though from, for example, the Federal Reserve or the central bank literally tampering, right, in the economy with the money supply. For example, they'll print out more money, they flood the market, they flood the country, right? They print out, in certain countries, they'll print out billions or trillions of dollars. They're going to print it out, send it out. For example, recently we had those lockdowns. And I'm going to explain it to you just so you understand it in a simple fashion. So, for example, in the US, remember they shut down their economy. They shut down their economy. So when you know an economy is shut down, they close their markets, people couldn't go in there. Just like in Belize, for example, and other countries, everybody was isolated, so you knew fully well trade wasn't at its peak, right? So we know that, right? Doesn't mean that trade stopped fully, because there were still certain levels of trade, but it went down, and you guys fully well saw that the prices increase, okay? You had, for example, of the port, you had certain ships that weren't unloaded, offloaded. You have certain, for example, in the different Gulf, in the US, you saw different ships also that they were not able to send out their goods, and some of those were done intentionally, some were not, okay? Some were done intentionally. You fully well know that you also had certain people that they were protesting, so that even factored in, all right? So that factored in. So when you had less goods, but you still had a lot of people trying to demand those goods, purchase those goods, there was an increase. But The government now said, you know what, we want people to stay home. But they couldn't just have people stay home and not take care of them or give them money. So what did government do? Government went ahead and they printed money. In some instances, they printed money, or sometimes they went ahead and they issued financial instruments, all right? So treasury bills, bonds, whatever it was that they manipulated. That's when you go into the market and you push, you design it, or you do what you want with it. However you want to achieve, whatever you want to achieve, you will do certain things. And that's what happened. So you had billions and billions of dollars being printed in certain countries, and they took those money and they gave it to people. Now, people felt good, especially lazy people. You have a lot of people who were lazy and they were just happy to receive that money. You also had a lot of people who were hardworking and they did not appreciate just being given money. And some of them were wise people. They knew what was happening, all right? Now, I know there were different levels of people. I know because I have friends on both sides. Some were happy to receive this money. They could stay home. I even had certain people say, man, I wish I don't ever have to go to work, and they just want to receive money for the rest of their lives. So I know those lazy people that would take advantage of the situation, not understanding the repercussion, because I'm going to tell you the repercussion. While you have those people who many said, man, I hate this, I'm at home, I'm stuck at home, I want to go to work, I want to open my business, this is really hurting me, I can't open my business, and they were not happy about it. All right? Those are the hard-working, decent people, okay? They're the ones who make the world go well, thrive. So what happens, though, when you just flood the market and you give people, issue people money? No. I spoke to you and I told you about inflation. I told you when there's lots of money going after few goods, increase, right? So what happens? The purchasing power decrease, and that's what happens, right? That's what happens. So you had all these people getting their money and they felt all good, and oh my God, I'm getting 1,000 a month or whatever it is that they got. But those same money other people were getting, right? It's not any money that they earned. They did not earn those money. What happened? They were still purchasing. They were still spending, okay? Because there were a lot of concessions. There were a lot of moratoriums, for example. And so that also played a role. So the money now just flooded the market. So the what they could spend were less. You understand what I'm saying? Because the purchasing power decreased. There are more money. Things got expensive. Okay, remember things got expensive. The shortages. Remember those shortages. So and certain things got increased. Even transportation increased. So that's not good for the economy. It's not good. It's definitely not good. Okay? Now, fast track now, I want to say there were, before I go into the increases in Belize, I'm going to zero in Belize right now in terms of the increase as it regards to imports and exports and inflation and what that caused. But just quickly, Kelvin, go ahead and play that little 40-second video. It's less than a minute with inflation. And this is in the US, so you understand it. I need you guys to understand it quickly. And this is straight from the Federal Reserve, those person in charge. So go ahead and play that. When you're ready, just let me know.
Fair to say you simply flooded the system with money?
Yes, we did.
That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply.
You saw that, and okay, all right. So that pretty much that's in the U.S. And what they were discussing was what really caused inflation. And I always bring up the U.S. because the U.S. is still the world economic power, and what happens there affects Belize. It doesn't matter what you want to say. It really does not matter what you want to say. That's a fact. It doesn't. That's a fact. That's the honest fact. So now we're gonna go now to Belize, all right? And I'm just going now so that I can whatever. We have in 2021. Now remember we had the lockdowns in 2020 and even 2021, right? Remember that. And make sure the audio is okay, right, everybody? So I had seen Calvert Bud said no audio. Good night, Calvert Bud, by the way. Good night, Overcomer Nessa. Good night as well. So the inflation in Belize, all right? The inflation, we're going to speak briefly on the inflation, and then I'm going to move to the imports and exports. Okay, so the inflation in Belize, we have here, and then probably Kelvin, you could go ahead and show something for the inflation. Go ahead and show just the graph first, and then we're going to look at the prices of certain things. Okay, the food items. So show the graph first, please. Just go ahead and show the graph, and then because what I want to show you now are the increases. What happened after I show that? Then I'm gonna move to the imports and the exports and show you where. Huh? Yes. Go ahead. I had told you the graph first, but anyway. Yeah. Thanks, Calbert. I see Calbert. All right. So if you look right there, the average price of selected foods and fuel. Okay? Now, firstly, you will see these are foods and fuel. The graph would have showed you that there's also other things going up. All right? But let's go ahead. He's showing this, and so let me just go right ahead. But afterwards, I really wanted to show the table, the graph. Sorry. If you look at what are increased, okay, so you have certain things here. You have rice, you had flour going up 17.4%, the rice 14.1%. You had meats, the ground beef, the steak, you understand, of course, even chicken cuts. You had the chicken, you had pigtail, all right? You had the fish, okay? And of course, and all these prices that I'm showing you is just for this is September 2021 versus September 2022, okay? So this is the end of the third quarter in 2021, end of the third quarter in 2022, all right? And that's how they do it. They do it by quarters. So you saw these increase. So it increased from September 2021 as compared to September 2022. That's what this change is showing, right? So even when it comes to eggs, for example, when it comes to eggs, okay, so you have here now, go ahead, Kelvin. Let me just read here now. Gregory Morrison said, Emperor Mansa Musa 1324 EC, when he went on his pilgrimage, he gave away gold that for about 10 caused inflation through much of Africa from Guinea to Saudi Arabia, all right? Okay, for 10 years, okay, he gave away gold that for about 10 years caused inflation through much of Africa from Guinea to Arabia. So you heard what he said in 1324 when he went on his pilgrimage. So even that giving gold would cause, that's tampering with the economy and the money supply. So that would cause inflation. And you hear what Gregory Morrison, he's from messaging from Los Angeles, and he's giving an example of what tampering with the money supply can cause. You see, and you might think it's good, but it can really lead to devastating repercussion. You understand? Devastating repercussion. Okay? I mean, imagine your purchasing power goes down and all that. It can be very terrible. All right, now, consumer price index. Now, quickly, you're going to see this graph. Just quickly, I'm not going to get all into it. But just if you see what is happening here. So you see, for example, transport. All right, there was this huge increase. Now, why this increase? Now, it's not only bringing in vehicles, for example, which that increase, okay? So the consumer price index by major categories, okay? And then, but you also had, when it comes to the increases, remember the bus fares increase, all right? The bus fare increase, everything increased, water taxi increase, there was an increase overall. Every transport that you can think of. So it wasn't only bus, everything that you can think of, even our local flights, everything went up. So it's not only the regular vehicle, gasoline, diesel, everything went up. So that's why you saw that increase, okay? Now, you see now the second one is the food items, right? So you see the food items, 114.5, okay? Now, that food item we're going to discuss it. That's food and non-alcoholic beverages. And then, of course, you have so we had the transport. Let me make sure that I can see this well. You have the housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels. And then, of course, you have the food and non-alcoholic beverage. Now, the next one that went up that I told you had to do with the food. All right? And that's why I showed you just now the increase in the food. Now, this might seem, as I told you, I'm trying my best not to get all technical, but you still have to understand what that means. And let me just make sure, because I have certain things that I'm looking at, just so that, all right. So when we saw that increase, for example, all right, so when we saw that increase, okay, so we had the overall, you had the increase, the overall inflation was 7.1%, right? It went up, so that's 7 September, and we saw all the different areas, all right? And I told you you had all these areas. We didn't show all of them, but let me just tell you in a nutshell, those figures just now that you saw, of course, were in the millions, but let me just show you. For example, you had the increase in premium gasoline that went up by 42.5%. That's huge. You had things even like habanero, 44.1%, watermelon, 38.3%, vegetable oil. All of these things we're going to get to. Vegetable oil, 35.7%. You had eggs, I told you, 33.6%. So you see, these things really, Irish potatoes, 35.6%. Okay, let me see what else stand out. Of course, you had the diesel went up by 26.4% and regular gasoline by 18.1%. Soy sauce, 15.4%. So all of these things, sweet pepper, 10.1%. Now you hear me listing these things. We're going to talk about opportunities soon. Sweet pepper, 10.1% it went up by. Orange didn't go up, okay? Tomatoes went up by 15.6%. Cilantro went up by 30.3%. Listen to these things, good people. Onion went up by 19.6%, okay? Whole fish, 13.3% and so forth. LPG, liquid petroleum gas, which is kerosene, went up by 11.1%. Now, we have those particular change from 2021 compared to 2022. Those are the change. So you see from one year to the next. And then earlier I had showed you the figures and I had showed you the value of those. All right? Now, when you look at what people are spending, it plays a big role because you know that's where the demand is. We're going to go to the imports and exports very quickly. So I'm trying to just show you that plays a big role because that's where the demand is. Okay? And that is also where, if it's going up, where there may be opportunities because there's not enough supply on the market. When you have more money chasing after limited commodities, that's when you have the increase, the spike in price. Do you understand? All right, that's what caused the inflation in a nutshell. All right, that's basically, that's the supply and demand of it all. But those are areas for opportunities because, all right, in economics, there are certain goods that where you may have substitutes and certain goods where you may not have substitutes. So when there is substitutes, and I can get into elasticity and inelasticity, I won't get all technical. Like I don't want to frighten anybody who may not understand some of this. So let me try and speak as easily as as easily and as simple as possible. So when you have these particular substitutes, for example, you know fully well, when it comes to clothes, you don't have substitute for clothes. You need clothes, right? What else are you going to wear? Leaf? We're not back in the Stone Age where we could use leaf. Maybe people use leaf back then. That's what it said. So that could have been a substitute, right? For instead of using fur, animal skin or cloth or weave, whatever. But that's not the case. So you need clothes, right? You need clothes. Okay? When it comes to, Gregory Morrison said, he said, meant to say Saudi Arabia. Thanks for quarantine. Yes. Good night, Sergio Samos. Good night, my friend. Gregory Morrison said, we had a double whammy for the inflation. We had supply chain shortage, and that's what I was speaking about. Remember the supply chain? Remember, all their barges were and boats and everything. Remember they were at a standstill. Remember they were not leaving. Remember that's why a lot of items. Remember we were a huge importer from the U.S. We did not get a lot of things. So they also had supply chain shortages caused by production cuts due to COVID and also the war in Ukraine and the dumping of money by the U.S. Federal Reserve. Okay? So that's what I explained indeed. So I want to, again, I don't want to get all technical, but I have to explain these to you. We're going to go now quickly because I showed you the increases and I told you exactly how those increases can be opportunities. And I'm going to show you even further because I'm going to show you the imports. All right, I'm going to show you the imports. I can go into the exports, but no. Exports is already, if people are exporting, that's beautiful. If you don't have to get in there, you don't get in there. As a matter of fact, when it comes to exports, the red kidney beans fell by 1.5 million from 9.9 million to 8.5. And then you had the black eyed peas It fell from 3.8 million to 2.6 million. That was a 1.2 million. And that's just the first 3 quarters of 2022 as compared to the first 3 quarters of 2021, right? So 9 months, right? So that is why you will see that when it comes to red kidney beans, right? And I'm explaining economics to you right now, and practical economics. That's why when you're going to see the red kidney beans, you're going to see that the change was negative 1.9. Negative 1.9. So that did not go up. Black beans as well had a change of negative 3.2%. Those were the 2 areas. And then you also had cabbage. It went down by negative 5.9%. Those were the 3 items. 3, only those 3 items, food items. So what happened? If you go to the export, you're going to see those were where the exports. So normally if they were exporting so much, they were exporting less, right? There were more of those particular commodities on the Belizean market. And so when there were more of those commodities on the Belizean market, it meant that the prices did not increase. It either stabilized, or in this instance, it fell. It was reduced, it decreased. You understand? And hence the reason it is important. It is important that we look at our import and export. All right? It's important. It's always important that we look at those, because we need to ensure that our economy is as stable as possible. Understand that we want growth. So when I mean stable, I mean when it comes to inflation. You don't want a stable and all stable, but it's all high inflation. Understand me? But as low as possible, because the lower it is, the better for us in terms of our purchasing power. Right? The higher it is, it's so difficult. That's why you got a lot of crime, because people don't have enough money. That dollar that you used to have, or that $10 that you used to have to go buy a $10 little bag of groceries, right? If that used to put in 5 items in that little grocery bag, it now will put in, let's say, 3 items. And that's what it caused. And that's why we had high crime as well. All right? And this isn't only in Belize or our neck of the wood. This is throughout the world when this happens. Okay? So, Kelvin, I want us to move now to the, let's go quickly to the imports. The imports plays a key role, people. It plays a key role. So please bear with me. Some of you may not fully understand, economics, but just know that I'm doing my best to ensure that it is as simple as possible. So we're gonna move now. We said imports. All right, now September 2022. Look at it, people. The blue line means imports. That's the top line. You see? What is happening with the imports? Imports, you're bringing in from abroad. Okay? You see how that continually went up? The only time it would go down, sometimes it's possibly if there are certain shocks in the market or certain, let's say, lockdowns, which causes these shocks, right? Certain things happen, all right? Less money to spend, all right? The market is being, tinkered with, whatever. There's transportation shortage, shocks. You have sometimes even protests happening, ships, people who deal with ships, who deal with the trucks, the truckers, whatever it is. even planes, because you do have cargo coming in from planes as well. So when you have some of the pilots, or they having such, they hold it down. So let me just tell you that the exports now. What happened with the exports? We didn't really see any increase per se, any real increase per se. Just was stable. It was just stable, and that's pretty much how our exports continuously is. Sometimes it's stable, it goes down. Okay? Imports are up. Now, what do we always want? Okay? It's very difficult to get a trade balance. Oftentimes we have, or all the time, we have a trade imbalance. And the trade imbalance is not favorable because normally it is high imports. All right? The imports are up, the exports are down, or this way. Okay? So what can we do? Because we have to help ourselves. We have to look at what is it that Belizeans, or whichever country that you're watching from, what is it that people are importing? What is it? And so we're going to go to that now, and we're going to see what it is that people are importing. So Kelvin, go ahead and let's see what people are importing. All right? Now, when you look at the commercial free zones, okay, we saw that, and I know that you'll say, oh, but regular Belizean can go into the commercial free zones. You are correct. Regular Belizean cannot go into the into the free zone like that. You are perfectly correct. No, but things still come out, and things are still bought. So that there's always a market, whether or not it's Belizeans buying, or let's say the Mexicans are buying, or whoever is buying, foreigners. That's also a market, okay? And it's right at our border. So what were the increase from? No, there was an increase. Kelvin, you can move that imports. Go ahead and move that. Move that, and go ahead and put the other import graph, or whichever you have there. So what were they looking at? Cigarettes, jerseys, T-shirts. Those are what were being looked at. Okay. Now I know that kind of looks a little bit small, but pretty much just look at those blue lines, and I told you those are the imports, right? And the first one, minerals, fuels, lubricants, those were going up. Commercial free zone, you see how that went up from 2021, September 2021 compared to September 2022. It increased from 15.8 million to 35 million. That's where the commercial free zone. And what were being increased? Clothes. A lot of it had to do with clothes, jerseys, T-shirts, jewelry, tennis shoes, cigarettes, those items. Chemical products, there were a lot of vaccines and fertilizers. Those are what made that increase. And you know what else has been happening. Beverages and tobacco, you see that's pretty much as kind of flat as can be. Why? You will understand that some of you, I mean, recently the beers that even are for re-exporting, you saw what happened with mine beer, for example. All right, so when you have certain occurrences happening in the market, it affects, these figures, okay? It affects these figures. So again, you have machinery and transport equipment that went down a bit. So even agro-processing machinery, which is, that's not a good thing. You want more agro-processing, you know what I'm saying? And we don't make our own machinery, but in that area, those are what were going down. You also saw the oils and fats, so the cooking oil, all right? And then you saw the food and the live animals, okay? The food and the live animals. So we saw when it comes to the decrease in terms of exports, So we will go into that. Thanks very much for that. Thanks very much for that now. Now, what is it that I want to make sure you get out of this? The opportunities, all right? The opportunities. I showed you the areas that were being imported, okay? If you look at the beverages, when it comes to imports there, where the increase, people are buying more, they're bringing in more, bringing in more. You have whiskey and wine, okay? Whiskey and wine. Now, whiskey, people like their black label and things like that. And then we do know that, for example, when it comes to wines, and we do know you have some of these particular, like Travelers, Quails, and so forth, they deal with spirits and things like that, alcoholic beverages. And this has nothing to do with beers, for example, Mine Beer, you have Boyne and Boyne, Bellikin Beer, and so forth. And what is imported, I'm talking about what we make. Wine. Wine is an area that we really have to get serious about. We have been tinkering with our wine. We have been tinkering. You'll see some of our people doing our little wine. You have them in a little plastic bottle. They sell it $2 for a little bit like this. And wine is an area, a serious area. Now, certain countries have age-old wine, France, Napa Valley, in California. You have certain countries that are very serious about their wine. Now, we have fruits. One of the good things about us is that we have fruits all year round. All year round we have fruits. As a matter of fact, you can even make wine out of rice and stuff like that. So it's not only fruits, but I'm just telling you, certain wines people prefer more. Right? Or certain wines could have a bigger market. More people might import those, or you would be able to even export it. Remember, if we can export more, right, and we reduce our importation bill, our country will be way better off, and we will have less crime. Okay? More people will be working. More factories will be operating. More people will be growing. More people will be producing productively whatever they're looking at that they can produce. So I told you about the commercial free zone. I told you about the increase in jerseys, T-shirts, clothes, jewelry, stuff like that. Now, I told you there's no substitute for clothes. Look at areas where there's no substitute for. There's no substitute for clothes. You need clothes. I don't know if we'll ever get a time when we're going to use something other than clothes, unless they change the material that they make clothes out of. Let's say they say, oh, we're going to start making clothes out of paper or recycled plastic or recycled whatever materials, whatever it is, hemp, whatever it is, whatever fiber. Yeah, but you're still gonna need clothes. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's another area for more of our people to get into and for more investment, where investors can say, hey, listen, even in Belize, and if you don't have much money, that's where you look at people who may have money and talk to them. Try to see how you could get as a group and see areas. One can design clothes, one can be the cutter, cut it, one has, there's different areas. All one can do is maybe just stitch, do this stitch, do the hemming, whatever it is. All right? Put the tag on it, if they're gonna, depending on what tie-dye, whatever it is. There is room for it. But you have to fix a machine, you're going to need someone who knows how to deal with machine. Service the machine. Market it. all right? Market it, one who will be doing the logistics, distributing it, all right? Do the exporting of it. One who has to do the finance, the accounting, make sure that it's cost effective, make sure that the cost, you know, everything that you produce is as cost effective, that the machines are running effectively, so the person who has to service it, ensure that, you know, the operators, the HR person, there will be jobs, people. There will be jobs. We got to start look at these areas to see how we can get in. And I know a number of Belizean Americans are watching this show as well. These are areas of opportunity. These are areas of opportunity. You always say, oh, it's only the foreigners, you know, they'll say the white man who owns everything or who come in and hey, these are opportunities. I'm trying to point out certain areas where you can get into. Point out certain areas, okay? Now, you look at oils and fats. That's another area. I told you the commercial free zone as compared to the first 9 months of 2021 as compared to the first 9 months of 2022. That stops right at the third quarter, September. You had the free zone, for example. They moved from 69.3 million. They had an increase of 69.3 million. That's from 208.3 million to 277.6 million. So you see, those are $1 million that we're looking at. 277.6 million in the first 9 months of 2022 in terms of imports. You see how much millions that is? And we know that's an area of opportunity for us. That's an area of opportunity. That's where we have to look at. We got to look at that. All right? The beverages, I already told you about that. You know, that where the wines and so forth. Now look at the oils. The oils now, it's cooking oils, the importation of cooking oils that increase. Now, it went from 18.4 million in 2021, that's the first 9 months, to 24.4 million in 2022. You see how much millions that is? So for those of you who are looking at areas again to invest in or start growing in, that's an area to deal with oils. That's another agro-processing area, to deal with oils, okay? Now, we look at also, no, the only area that I told you that there was a decrease, I told you had to do with like beer and cigarettes, and that's for re-exportation, and I told you why. When you look at this, when you look at these particular areas, we know that people might say they don't have the different monies, but I am telling you, where there's a will, there's a way. If Kelvin, for example, Kelvin could show the increase in terms of municipality when it came to inflation. All right, inflation for the municipality. And I'm going to show you why it's important that we have to look at these. Okay? Because if you look at the inflation when it comes to municipality, and now I'm speaking about Belize now, you're going to see that Orange Walk, right? That's the inflation rates by municipality. Now that's how expensive it has gotten. For example, in September 2022, you had Orange Walk. They experienced the highest level, right, in terms of inflation, 8.6%, right? Then PG, 8.3%. So we went from north to south, 8.3%. Then you had Benque Viejo, went 8%. Then you had San Ignacio with 7.9%. And then you had Corozal Town, 7.2%. 2%, then you had Dangrigatong. 6.9%, you had Independence, 6.8%. Then you had San Pedro Ambergris. So they had the San Pedro Town, 6.8%. Then you had Belize City, 6.7%. And then you had Belmopan. They had the lowest with 5.4%. Thank you very much. And again, the Statistical Institute of Belize, these figures came directly from them. But overall, we had a national 7.1% increase. All right? Now, this increase caused a decrease in your purchasing power. That's what it means, right? Pretty much in a nutshell, just to simplify things. So things got way more expensive in Orange Walk, PG, Bankhead, and San Ignacio, and Corozal. Okay? Then Dangriga, then Independence, San Pedro, 6.8. Now you look at a place like Belize City, 6.7%, which is less, and you might say, but shoots. And still, certain things were happening. Now, if you have inflation, so even though we experience according to their figures, it doesn't feel like that to us, but according to their figures, they're saying that we experience 6.7%, as opposed to, for example, Orange Walk, which experienced 8.6% increase in inflation. So why would Belize City have a higher incidence of crime? No, unemployment. The opportunities, the job opportunities, and more people are still flooding to Belize City to live. And hence the reason it is extremely important for us to look at the imports and look at the areas where we can get into. Now, when it comes to the food and live animals, okay, that's another area. I showed you all those areas where there were increases. I showed them to you. I showed you how the drafts increase in those food items. Okay? Now, you have certain areas when it comes to imports that we are still high on. Wheat, margarine, coffee. For example, in those areas and certain live animals, 182.7 million was at 2021. That's just the first 9 months. In 2022, that went up to $207.4 million. If you look at that now, if you look at those figures, you will see that, and they gave holistic figures, right? They gave holistic figures. And these particular, let me just make sure I can see these figures well. Now, when you look at these figures now, I told you about all the areas that we can get into. Some of them are raw products. Some of them we can even move to agro-processing. All right? Not everybody wants to be a farmer. We understand that. Not everybody has land. We understand that. Or huge tracts of land. We understand that. But there's also another level. So you move from one level, the raw products, the raw materials, move to the other level when it comes to agro-processing. All right? Move to agro-processing, where you can do a lot of stuff. The importation bill for Belize, I showed you the figure initially, and I showed you that the imports just continue to go up, and that includes food. So those are clothes, tennis shoe, okay? Those, you're always gonna use those. I don't know what substitute there will be, and I'm glad I have one of my friend, Diona Pilgrim. Shout out to Diona in San Pedro area. And I know Diona, she was doing her slippers, soles to feet slippers, and I'm so proud of her. These are areas we need to look out. We need to look at these areas. We sincerely need to look at these areas and look at the demand. these agro-processing areas, now there's areas whereby even things like soups, you look at all the ramen soup, and this is an area I want to get into. You look, and I want our people to get into, you look at all these ramen soups, for example, and you may say, okay, well, you'll never be able to compete against these Chinese with their ramen soup, but you can get more nutritious ones. You understand what I'm saying? So maybe when it comes to the noodles, but when it comes to the vegetables now, remember I told you, you have to look at areas where there will never be any substitute. People may get into and say, okay, well, you don't have to use vegetables. It's just like certain meats. People started to use tofu as a substitute for meat. But not everybody will do that. So you look, I'm trying not to get into elasticity and inelasticity, but certain areas you will always have a demand for. People will always need to eat. People will always need to eat. Now, these are the areas you look at, and I can go more in depth. It's a long list when it comes to different food items, but I just wanted to show you the actual demand. You have all different food items, and when you zero into those food items, that's where you can look and see, hey, I can do that. I can start to make that. For example, you have your sealer, right? A sealer is like $100 and something. Let's say $175, $189 a sealer like that. And you start to have your, for example, dried fruits or dried vegetables, whatever it is, or whatever you make, you seal it nicely, you put a label in it. You understand? I'm just saying you start out literally, let's say a family. You move from being a family where, let's say, mommy, daddy, son, daughter, they get together and they start producing, they start literally doing it in that manner without going straight to a big factory. They start out like that. Many successful businesses have started out in that manner. They start out small and they perfect what they do. So let's say the son is the artistic one. He's the artistic one, and he's the one that can do all the labeling and do all the marketing and deal with the online shopping. While let's say the daughter, I'm trying, it's not to put anybody in a cabbage hole, but it's, let's say the daughter is the one who's good with money, and she's the one who knows how to ensure that things are very cost effective, and the whatever input that they need to purchase is as cost effective, and they're purchasing it at the lowest supplier. The mother and the father are the ones who are getting things done, dealing with making sure that everything is processed well, or it's packaged well, and things like that. The point is that you will share the job. And I'm just saying that's one family. I'm just saying a family of 4. You have a lot of families, for example, in Belize, where the family in one household, 1 yard. You understand? You have 30-odd people living in 1 yard. You see? 20-odd, 30-odd people, 1 yard. You look at areas, bananas. I didn't tell you about bananas. Now, when it comes to exports, for the first 9 months in September, the only category that went down was bananas. It went down by $4 million from $668 million in 2021 to $62 million in 62.0 million in 2022. They exported less bananas. Now, I have told you umpteen times what all you can do with bananas. Umpteen times. I told you, but for the sake of those who have not heard me, let me just tell you some of the things that you could do with bananas. Well, from the skin, you can the leaf, you can deal with your tamales. You can use that like that. Additionally, people use it for decoration and things like that. But you can deal with bananas. You can do from flour. You can make from banana. banana muffins, banana waffles, banana shakes, banana chips. You understand? Nice chips you can make from banana chips. Okay? Smoothies. All right? Banana bread, banana cake. All right? You can make a lot of things from banana. A lot of things you can make from bananas. And you can mix the banana with other stuff as well. You can literally do that. Banana fritters. Banana, you can even put, like if it's green banana, you can put it in soups. Even ripe banana, you can put them in soups. There's a lot of things you can do. So I want to tell you, you look at certain commodities, you look at certain areas that you can get into that maybe it will be cheaper for you to get into, but what you can agro-process from it is tremendous. It's tremendous. Bananas is one of the cheapest items you can buy, but all that you can make from it is tremendous. It's tremendous. You understand? Of course, when you finish with the bananas, the skins, you use it as compost. You use it as compost, all right? But the list of things are there, and I'm very conscious about time, as much as I want to speak a lot more, because this is an area that I have a lot of love for. I gave you one product, and I told you, you look at it. Sometimes we don't get into figures, but sometimes it's to our detriment. And that's why I'm pointing it out to you. I'm highlighting certain areas where the imports, start looking at imports. And for those of you who are like me, who want to look at those areas, look at those areas. And you look and see which area you can call your schoolmate, your neighbor, your mother, your father, your auntie, your uncle, your sister, your brother, and say, hey, listen, your neighbor, you're this business person that you know has some money, and it's just there, and that person is your friend, and look at areas, the diaspora, and you point out these areas where they can come in and help with the financing, the financial capital. That is important. You might have the land. You might have right here, because remember, we can export to the CARICOM market, and we don't have to be paying duties, and we don't have to be paying nothing other than the cost to export, because it's a free market. So that's good. That's a good thing. So it's not only Belize that you will be servicing. You understand? And hence the reason I don't want to go deep into the export market, because those are already there. We want those who are already exporting to thrive. You understand? The cooperatives, for example, who are sending out their lobster, whatever, seafood, whatever, the sugar that they fetch higher prices in certain instances, whatever it is that they've gotten into, those are areas. Let them be. Let them continue to fetch it, because you don't want to flood the market and their prices go down. You understand what I'm saying? You don't want, oh my God, they're exporting that. Let me get into that too. And then you start exporting it and the prices go down. No, that's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, look at the imports. Look at the imports. What is being imported? And also look at maybe what is in abundance here, what may be decreasing abroad, but is still useful here. Like I told you, for example, bananas, the export went down. And you have an abundance of bananas. You can even make turkey out of bananas, all kinds of things. I'm telling you, I have made so much things. Kelvin has made so much things with bananas. And those are areas that we have to look into. So don't be looking at, oh, this person is exporting. Look at what is being imported. There is already a demand. It's already here. We know that people will buy it. We know without a shadow of a doubt people will buy it. And listen good now, people, because I don't want to go too long. The transportation costs will be less. Remember, the transportation costs, when these people have to be importing it, they have to come from ship, barge, however it comes. Sometimes it's even on a plane, cargo plane. The shipping and handling cost is tremendous. And that is what has to be added on to the price that we ultimately pay. You understand? The custom brokers, they have to get their pens. And I'm not saying to knock them out of the market, but come on, there'll be other jobs for them. We want our standard of living to be better. And so we want our exports to increase, right? Increase. And we want our imports to decrease. And our imports can decrease if more of us start to produce what at the moment is being imported in abundance by the millions and millions, hundreds of millions. Those are the areas that we want to get into. And I do know that vehicles are imported. That's why I didn't get into it, because I do know that that's a big deal. We're not in that. Nobody has come to us and say, hey, let's put together vehicles to that level. Yeah, you had the little small vehicles. At one point they had looked into, what's that called, barrage or something like that, I'm not sure. But to a great extent, I'm looking at practical stuff where we already have the resources. Listen, another thing you need to look at, the foods that we eat. We need to eat food, consume food that are local, that are native to us. The reason why a lot of people have cancer and all these health problems is because they are consuming food products that are not native to them. It's not their local food. It's not their local food. It's not their cilantro. It's not their cabbage. You understand? It's not their onions. It's not their sweet potato. You understand what I'm saying? It's not that. That's not what the cocoa, cassava, that's not what they're eating. You understand? That's not what they're eating. And that's why they're getting all these cancers and all these health diseases, problems. They're high cholesterol. Lots of people have diabetes now. They're bringing foreign foods, filled with things that are not good for them. I had my show about that. We can't continue. We can't continue like that. We have to have things fresh as can be. And even if it's processed, it's not processed with all these things, all these chemicals that are not good for us. Because the more if we have certain things, we have it on our shelves to sell, and people are buying it, there won't be any need to have these lots of chemicals that are sickening and killing us prematurely. Okay? So let us stop consuming. Not everybody here is black. So there's white people, black people, yellow people, but this is how we talk. Stop consuming the white man's food. Stop consuming the white man's food. Leave the white man food for the white man. Let us consume our black people food and our brown people food. Okay? I'm trying to be as practical as I can be to tell you that is, and prevention is cheaper than cure. You're buying all those nasty foods that are not good for us. This is not native to us. Let's consume our own. All right? Good night, Keenan Flowers. Nancy Paul says, the Minister of Agriculture importing oranges when that is produced locally. It doesn't make sense. Yes, I had sent Kelvin a picture of an orange that was sent to me. All right? Actually, it passed through my timeline. That's through Facebook. That's the first thing I had sent to Kelvin this morning, an orange And what did that have? That orange was showing that it was not made in Belize here. And we were in shock. You understand? We were in shock when that orange was, I think it's Alfonso Nobel who had posted that and said that, and it flew through my timeline. And so that particular orange, Kelvin, you didn't download that orange, no? Okay, don't worry about it. That particular orange is something that I was in shock when I saw that particular orange. Literally in shock. I was literally, did you see, Kelvin? Kelvin is trying to show us, and I'm showing you this is because this is what was sent to me. And if this is the case, and I saw people commenting. People were commenting and saying, "Oh, the people are bringing this in," and some people were saying, "Well, leave it be. They want to purchase it," but the most people were not in agreement with it. And I have to admit that it says here, for example, it had here Sun Pacific 3107 USA. That's what it said, but made in Mexico. This is a picture. I don't know, Kelvin, will you show us a picture? Yeah, so I was seeing this orange and I said to myself, my goodness. Now, if you look at this orange, people, look at it. This doesn't even look like orange. Remember I told you last week? Remember what the show was about last week? Remember what we were speaking about? Why so much cancer? Remember I was telling you about why so much cancer? And I was telling you all the chemicals that are being put in these cancer and why some of these particular products, like orange, you can just crack it open, like just easily peel it as opposed to our particular orange. Now, when you look at these orange right here, it looks different, right? It looks very, 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 very different. And we spoke last time, and I don't want to get into it, but we spoke about what all they're putting into these foods. And if you look at that orange, it doesn't look like our orange. And I know that there's different oranges, right? There's different oranges, and there's even hybrid, and so they will look different. But remember, people, you may want things to look all pretty and cute. That doesn't mean it's good for you. That does not mean that it is good for you. Remember, I told you, for example, last week we had the show, and one of the things that we looked at were, let me see, all right, was it last week or a week before, Kelvin? Was it last week? Okay, the 22nd of November, we were looking at cancer. All right, we were looking at the 22nd of November, we were looking at cancer, and we were saying what were the reason for all these cancers. And if you look at these particles, and I know lots of people were commenting back then, but we don't want their food like that. We want food without all those chemicals, without all those. We want food that are just as healthy, least amount of chemicals as possible. That's pretty much what we want. I will end here right now. Nancy DePaz says they are already killing us with the water we drink, and that's true. You see all the fluoride in your water, in our water. Those fluoride is not good for us. It's not good for us. Just like the GMO is not good for us. Right? We already spoke about anything genetically modified. It's not good for us. Okay? So when Nancy is saying about the water, it's true. Listen, the only water that really has certain level of minerals that's good for us is spring water. Spring water. This particular regular water, even purified water, it's just fluid that's going into your body. But it's not giving you anything, it's not filling you with anything nutritious. It's just fluid, empty fluid. But if you get it from the tap water, if you get it from a pipe, it has in fluoride, which is not good for you. Look into fluoride and you'll see it's not good for you. And the only thing, so if you get chemicals, you get real, let's say orange juice, real grapefruit juice, and so forth. And that's why even like if you suffer from sinus, you need your grapefruits and things like that, grapefruits, orange, lime. You need to be as alkaline as possible. You need to be as alkaline as possible, the most alkaline. You understand? And that's why ginger, you need ginger, to eat a lot of ginger in your food, onions in your food, garlics in your food, even apple cider. You understand? Lime, orange, you'll have the orange, you'll have the grapefruit. You need your vegetables. And that's why I said about native stuff. The more vegetables, and I know some people, and I wanted to get into hydroponics. Hydroponics, you're going to need water and a pump, and you deal with your hydroponics, versus you don't even need all the land. That's an area that I want to get into. You don't need all the land, but you can produce so much, bountiful. And vegetables, certain vegetables, you understand? Lettuce, cilantro, even strawberries, cabbage, peppers, bell peppers, we call sweet peppers. You understand what I'm saying? So the point is that there's areas where we can get into tomatoes and we can do our part to ensure that the price is stable or doesn't increase so drastically, because see, there's going to be an increase in the wages soon, $5 an hour, right? $5 an hour. As I said, some of us have been paying that from before. But anyway, $5 an hour for the others who have not been paying $5 an hour. They'll have to pay it come January. With inflation, it just means that the increase is just kind of just to starve off or stabilize a little bit of the increase in price. You understand? So it's not going to give you this huge, this high level of purchasing, additional purchasing power because of inflation. So all that is good in terms of the increase in the wage, the wage rate. However, and I know some businesses might not be happy, I understand that, but we have to look at these things and say what we can do. And so I already told you what we can do, and the point is that we now have to, all right, let me just say, we now have to make sure that there's no room, absolutely no room for dropping the ball, because I may be speaking to you right now and I'm taking my time to explain certain things because I want us to get into it. If there's nothing else you get out of this, look at areas where you can do and start with your family. Teach, if you don't like to grow or plant or things like that, get your son to do it or your daughter to do it. Get them to start to want to do things like that, okay? If you don't want to do it. All right? And you do something else. Right? We have enough call centers. Not everybody can work at a call center. Not everybody can work at a call center. There's enough call centers, and nothing against these call centers, but not everybody can work at a call center. Not everybody wants to work at a call center. Some people want to be creative. Some people want to be creative. Not everybody wants to be like, little robots or whatever it is. Some people want to be creative. They want to work with their hands. They want to, really see things materialize. And so these are areas that I'm pointing out. Yes, other areas are just as important, very important. And I won't get into the other areas in using your technical skills, because the other areas will be your skills. Look, I always say, do an assessment of yourself and see what it is that you have. Look right in your house. First of all, start with yourself. What can I do? Get down a pen and paper. Write down, what skill do I have? All of us have skills. All of us have talents. What skill do I have? What talent do I have? What do I like to do? What is it that makes me happy? Write it down. Get your pen and paper, write it down. Then you look at your house and you look and see what all existing appliances or tools you may have. Look at your yard, how big it is, or what already tools, appliances, whatever it is, machinery, equipment that you already have that you can utilize, that your family can utilize. Look at what district you're living at. Look at the demand. I already told you about the demand in certain areas where the high increase in inflation. What is it that they're purchasing that you can then go and start producing and make money? Because what that means is there's a lot of people going after a little bit of those particular products. So you can start producing, manufacturing, processing those particular items, and you will have, there'll be a market for it. Okay? So, and the cost may be lesser. I'm saying may be lesser due to the less less transportation costs that you might be having to pay, because remember, these other people have to import. All right, they have to import, and in some areas they have to pay certain taxes, excise duties. They have to pay, whatever environmental tax, whatever it is. They have to pay whatever customs duty. So look at those areas, people. Now, Nancy says, plant your food organically, much healthier. The clothes, they're already killing us with the water we drink, the foods we eat, the clothes we wear, and spraying chemicals in the air, those chemtrails that I've spoken to you about, killing us by any means necessary just to depopulate the world. All right? So I've spoken about those. I want to end here, and you're very correct, Nancy. I want to end here by, again, just giving you those highlights. Try to share with people who may be looking at opportunities. This show is brought to you through the courtesy of Sea Belize Vacation Rentals, located at 5 miles Philip Golson Highway. It's just a minute away from the Halover Bridge, the second right. If you're coming from Belize City, it's the second right. Second cut off on your right. If you're coming from the airport, it's just after AQ Auto Rental. And so, beautiful pool, 40 by 16 foot pool, 6 feet deep, one end, next area 3.8 feet, and you have beautiful different individualized units, rooms, suites, studios, apartment for you to choose from. Contact, the number is 501-615-4465, 4467, or 4485. The website is www.CSEEBelizeVacation.com, CBelizeVacation.com. And we're also on YouTube, Sea Belize Vacation. Sea Belize Vacation, you also have us on Facebook. So give us a call. It's also brought to you through the courtesy of Maximum Radio and Television. They are on Central, as long as you have Central Cable and Television, you have DigiTV, you have whichever, they are on it. So make sure you listen to them. They have always are throwing out special deals. I must say they have an awesome team at Maximum Radio and Television. So again, look at them. They're throughout the country, and they're on different avenues. Thank you very much, Kelvin. Thank you, Kelvin LeBron Moya Flowers. Thank you, my dear son. He's awesome. I think you've done an awesome job, Kelvin. He's at the Master Control in studio. Mr. Ben Ruiz and Michael Salazar, they are at Maximum Radio and Television. I want to big up my daughter, Natalia Zenaida Moya, in studio, trying to behave herself. She has done a very good job with that, and so I want to big them up. I know school is closing this week, and so they have a lot going on. I want to shout out to Horizon Academy. They will be having their Christmas show this Thursday at the Bliss Institute. So 7 o'clock, all those who want to watch little kids, I think it's going to be like an hour and a half. Do their things. I'm going to see Natalia doing her thing. I'm not sure about Kelvin. So they will be there. So if you want to go watch some very nice show, they will be there. And I'm sure a lot of the other schools will be having their shows as well. So with that said, thank you very much. Have a wonderful and blessed night, Tuesday. Go ahead, Kelvin. Take it away.
Looking for the ultimate sea view getaway? Then Sea Belize Vacation Rentals and Tours, located at 5 miles Philip Golson Highway near the Halover Bridge, is your perfect sea view getaway. Come relax in one of our beautiful air-conditioned sea view apartments, studios, sea view rooms, or suites, all with flat screen television, hot and cold bath, and unlimited access to our spacious and refreshing 40 by 16 foot pool with 6 to 4 feet depth. So you can enjoy that fun and refreshing dive or dip in the pool. We sell ice cold drinks, so you can relax and unwind on our overwater or poolside decks. Contact us at 501-615-4485, 65 or 67.